Hello and welcome to the FF News Virtual Arena. I'm your host Doug Mackenzie, and on today's episode we're actually going to be looking at the Huawei Neonomics partnership and also the future of open banking and what these two organisations are doing right at the heart of that. So joining me today is Christoffer Andvig from Neonomics. For our audience who might not be aware, Christoffer, can you kick us off with an introduction about yourself and Neonomics, please?
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Christoffer, I'm the founder and CEO of Neonomics. We started out 2016, registered the company back in 2017, aiming to essentially build an app store for banking through leveraging open banking. We knew about PSD2 coming to Europe and just wanted to leverage that to its maximum opportunity, connecting banks through pure APIs, and have done so ever since. And Neonomics today has little more than employees located in Oslo, Norway, pan-European coverage, and aiming to become a global company. So
amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Christoffer. And I really think what we're going to get from this conversation is just hearing all about marketplaces, but also being that fulcrum of innovation is going to be so critical going forward. So thank you so much. And also Siri as well. Thank you for joining us on the Virtual Arena again. How are you doing? And also, for our audience who might not be aware, could you tell us a bit more about your role at Huawei, please?
Yeah, thank you, Doug, for inviting me again. So my name is Siri. I joined Huawei about 2 years ago, and I look after the finance vertical within the global mobile ecosystem that Huawei is building. So Huawei is actually building a competitor to the App Store on your iPhone and the Play Store on your Google phone or your Android device. And when we look at that, obviously we need to fill that app store with the best products and services that are out there within the finance service. So that is my responsibility, to make sure that it's top notch and that all the developers out there have the tools they need to create good products.
Absolutely amazing. Well, thank you both for that introduction there. And also joining us here today, we have Michael Lowers, also from Huawei. Michael, how are you doing here today?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Amazing.
Doug, love to see you here.
Oh, it's absolutely our pleasure to have you on as well. And Michael, with that in mind, to kind of kick things off with you, I'd really like to ask about Huawei's position in the industry and the ecosystem. You know, there are established players obviously in Europe, and we're talking very much about open banking, of which Europe is a major player in. So what is Huawei's role almost being in this underdog position, and what are the opportunities that can come about from it?
Yeah, so let me know if you can't hear me, but
you're coming through loud and clear.
I think Huawei's role is, I think one thing that's really important and one thing that we're focused on is innovation and pushing the industry forward through competition. Obviously, that's important in the financial services space anyway. That's why it's so great to see so many fintechs coming to the fore, adding that layer of competition, which is improving innovation. It's providing better products for customers to improve their financial health. Now, we see our role as the same within the platform space. So you've got obviously the App Store, you've got the Play Store, but it's really important that you've got competition in that space to improve those offerings as well. And that's why we've looked into open banking, to be quite honest.
Nice.
So, it's not something currently offered by any other platform, but we see taking our scale, we see taking our brand as an opportunity to offer better services to apps within the App Store, and to offer better opportunities for them to innovate the products that they've got.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, we really do see ourselves as a staunch competitor within the market, but really at the heart of that, it's all about driving innovation, and ultimately that means better products for consumers and better ways for them to help their financial.
Siri, what were some of the key reasons behind Huawei choosing Neonomics to explore open banking?
Well, first we had to go through the sort of the innovative part of open banking, and the opportunity we saw in that. And then I joined Huawei when Norway closed down due to COVID. And obviously you start in your own backyard. The Nordics is a very exciting place when it comes to financial services and the digital space. So we started looking, and we came across Neonomics. And what was great about Neonomics was that we have some of the same visions, and there is this similarity of culture, and that was important to us. So far so good. We've had many challenges that we, with our culture, has sort of overcome, with a great sort of vision ahead. So that has been basically. And then there's the obviously the technological side of it, where Neonomics is a pure API player. And that brings us to the importance of security, which is obviously extremely important for Huawei to ensure.
Yeah, it's going to be such a KPI for any financial institution, anyone in finance, because to make money, it's just all about reducing that risk. So yeah, to hear that is so affirming. And also, Christoffer, I'd love to hear your perspective as well. And Neonomics, as you mentioned in your intro as well, obviously being so based in Oslo. What was the kind of interaction like? And can you tell us a bit more about the partnership from Neonomics' side as well, please?
Yeah, well, I think as Siri mentioned, looking in your own backyard for a company is not easy when you are a global company such as Huawei. And I think from our perspective in Neonomics, we never perceived ourselves as a Norwegian company. We always started out as a global company. And I think that's where we potentially also had a benefit with being located in a small country such as Norway, because we weren't that focused on the home market. Because I think we've seen over the past couple of years that it's without doubt the UK market was a front runner in the open banking. The regulators were very quick to issue the licenses. OBIE was a driver for connecting to the banks. And the functionality has been more or less a year and a half, even 2 years ahead of the rest of Europe. And I think the Nordic market was definitely a runner-up. But what we had as a benefit, being located in such a small country, is that we had to take into consideration the different standards. How would we approach this in various markets in Europe, but also beyond Europe? So when we started the discussions with Huawei, it was about how can this open banking service become a global service. Huawei had a need for a partner in what is also the payment space, given the political challenges we have right now. And so we looked and saw how can we facilitate and circumvent that in a good way, while still maintaining, as Siri mentioned, the security elements, GDPR, and everything else that we are bound to here in Europe, and see how we could leverage that in the best way possible. Yeah. And I think having that from the beginning was a very good foundation for this partnership.
Definitely, and I think that really perfectly leads me on to my next question, Siri. And looking at the opportunities that Huawei can see, Gallery can see from utilizing financial services and offering up, really advanced financial services in Europe. What was the thought process behind that, and how are you looking to capitalize on it?
Well, I think like one of the most important reasons is for Huawei to bring value to our partners and to our customers. So for us, it is not as much of it's a value proposition for the market rather than for ourselves. And our mission is to bring financial health to every person, to every home, and to every organization worldwide. And in order to do so, we need to provide them with technical resources. Small companies might not have the resources today, and therefore that has been important for us to bring that financial toolkit API to their usage, and then also there are obviously this sustainable opportunity with reducing cost of transactions, and also to bring that to the market is not only within the finance service but also within all the different vertical that's out there.
Yeah, I think that's so brilliant to hear. Looking at ultimately the end user at the end of the day, and looking at innovation for their sake rather than innovation for innovation's sake is so critical to open banking, because otherwise you just end up having offerings and APIs that no one is using. So that's absolutely amazing. Now, I think that Siri, a lot of people would be really interested in looking at the current landscape in Europe that you're operating in, and obviously that with such established competition already there, what are the opportunities that come about for Huawei and App Gallery to explore being in this almost underdog position to really focus on, in, for instance, different industries like finance?
Well, the first thing is that many are surprised that we're in this space. So that again shows that we're a company that looks after our partners and look after our customers. So that's sort of at the basis of that. But there's obviously a challenge with Europe being so fragmented, and we therefore have to go into each and every market and give everyone their special offering.
Yeah.
But being an underdog is actually sometimes really good, because you can do a lot of great things.
Amazing. Now, with that in mind, then, we've kind of skated over the main driver of today's discussion, and that is open banking and the technology that kind of enables businesses to really compete with large-scale financial institutions. So, with that in mind, Christoffer, how can different businesses actually utilize open banking through various technologies like what you provide at Neonomics? How can they come to you and say, like, look, we really want to be a part of this movement? How can Neonomics help?
Well, I think our focus is always, and you mentioned it previously, Doug, the customer experience and how you try to interact and create the best customer experience possible. Yeah. And we strive for that in what we do, so that we can kind of integrate the data that you have from your bank, or facilitate the same payment methods as you have in your bank, and put that into the interface that any merchant would like to create. And I think that is kind of where so far we've seen the banks essentially fail in this space, because they have had too much of a focus on open banking, if we refer to it more as PSD2, as a compliance requirement. And if they look at it and perceive it only as a damn thing they have to do, might want to beep that out. But if they perceive it in that way, they will never get the value that you can get out of open banking, because the real value is actually for the banks to be able to reach their audience, and not just their existing clients, but also additional new clients in the channels and customer experiences where the customers actually are. I think many in the financial industry, we think about the products that we create and the business area that we are in, and think about it as something exciting. But when you think about banking in general, is it exciting? No, it's not. Yeah. It's just something that has to work, and you don't want to think about it. And open banking is essentially a facilitator that allows merchants, that allows various offerings to be made without the consumers having to think about their bank. It's just supposed to work.
Yeah, it's a shame that it is a thankless task, isn't it? Because it's opening up so many more avenues for exciting technologies, but ultimately people just want to pay. and whether they do it through one way or another, it is up for debate. But that leads perfectly onto my next question, because I really do think opinions are changing, and while currently we just want to pay, consumers are increasingly becoming aware of open banking, I feel. Do you think that, Siri or Mike, if I could come to you with this, do you think that consumers their demands are increasing now from the finance apps that they engage with and their payment experience. It's something they actually are conscious of now. Have you seen that change?
Oh, totally. You absolutely see. First of all, we see, and unfortunately, I must say that how COVID obviously has made more people aware of the opportunities they have when it comes to doing their banking on their mobile phone.
Yeah.
We spend 88% of our time that we spend on our phones are spent in apps. So obviously these, and I think a lot of people experienced crap customer experiences when they took and moved from the laptop or even going into the branches and onto their phones. That has made the industry wake up. So that is good. And we see a lot of improvement, but it's like Christoffer is saying, we have such a long way to go in order to give customers what they actually want. But as we see with customers, and we've seen with us, especially with the I call it our new organ, the mobile phone that is stuck to our hand all the time. So it has absolutely changed the way consumers behave. They are more curious, they are more impatient, and they are definitely a lot more demanding. And that is not like in the old days. That could be people that had a lot of money. They could behave that way. But now everyone behaves that way.
Yeah.
So it's crucial to actually look at the feedback you get from your customers through the data, and the industry has stepped up, but still we have such a long way to go. There are still so many opportunities to treat us as customers in a better way and to help us with our finances and how to do our banking much easier.
Yeah.
Like my dream is when you do payments and you don't even think about it, and the system knows that you can actually afford it. The system tells you if you cannot afford it, or the app. That is the dream. So a little bit like, I think, the reason for why we love Uber.
Yeah.
We just go into the car. It's a nice experience. The driver knows your name, and then you leave and you say thank you and you rate that person, and you have paid. Like that hassle and things like you see with many of these opportunities, grocery shopping, Amazon, grab and go. You just go in, you say, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna shop, and then take it out of my account. There's so many opportunities here in different ways, whether it's payment or personal finance management, and open banking is leveraging on that or making it possible for us to do this, which is great. And I must say, I mean, it is not sustainable to have the transaction fees on that we see today. It is not. So what we see with Amazon saying to Visa that,
Yeah.
you guys, this is not how we it cannot continue to be like this. That is something I really applaud.
Yeah, especially if you think all the risk is left with the bank, and then suddenly those payment transactions just aren't worth it. But that's a really exciting future. Obviously, not if you have children, that sounds like an absolute nightmare, I imagine. But yeah, the fact if they can just walk into a shop and walk out with a million different things. But I'm sure there'll be various different interactions where that's going to be ironed out, and it's really an exciting future that I cannot wait for. It sounds absolutely amazing.
But I also have to say then that there is also a responsibility on us as an industry, because you're just saying that in terms of the younger population, how do they learn what money is actually and what money is worth, and how to treat money. So that is something we need to take seriously, and whether it comes into the educational system or if it's apps that lies on the side that we as parents can give them or introduce them to, then we need to look into that as well. So it doesn't come for free. That is a responsibility we need to take seriously.
Yeah, it's a really engaging conversation. And Mike, if I could come to you as well, because obviously, looking at Huawei's perspective, I know Siri's just given some insight there, but I guess it is going to land pretty much on the app stores to kind of help in this educational scheme of what constitutes as money when it moves almost completely digital and mobile. Do you think that there's going to be a lot of responsibility put there where all these app marketplaces, for instance, App Gallery, are going to be part of that conversation in enabling children to understand what constitutes as digital money?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big power that the ecosystems have is supporting the apps within that ecosystem to do better. There's great examples already. Trading 212 is a really cool example where they have hundreds of videos within their app. Obviously, it's a stocks and shares trading platform, but they have hundreds of videos already embedded within their app, teaching customers about trading, teaching them about the signals they should be looking for, making it accessible and much easier to understand and kind of demystifying that experience. So you do have cool examples like that. Obviously, we have a part to play in promoting that as well, and using our platform to let customers know of the great apps that are out there for them to be able to use. But yeah, I mean, I think there's so much opportunity for the apps to really hone in on that, and obviously we want to support them in as much as possible. So, but yeah, I think it kind of it leverages off both ways. But the other thing that we've got, which is the kind of a bit of a privilege here in Europe, is obviously Huawei is a Chinese company. We've been a kind of integral part of that market for several decades now. So seeing the technology and seeing where those future sparks are and the things that are happening over there, and bringing that insight across to partners and the apps within the ecosystem here in Europe means that they can get that insight experience as to where the future's headed, but also how they can take advantage.
Yeah. Now, with the same thing, I mean, we have diverged pretty much from the conversation, but that's what open banking does. It really does factor into every part of society. And I guess, Christoffer, when you gave your introduction of what Neonomics is, you wanted to be that kind of marketplace for open banking. And really, I'd like to see your perspective at Neonomics about where all these apps are going to go, and as a result, where does Neonomics look to constantly evolve with the changing shift in the industry and the ecosystem?
Well, obviously, in our perspective, things cannot move quick enough. So we're already dreaming of not just the next generation open banking, but also open finance. And this is where we're really hoping that the banks will be more on board and work with us to get the financial offerings into the apps and into the user experiences. So if you are purchasing something and you have something you really want, but you don't necessarily have the funds right there, then that's something that we can facilitate through open finance, and that's where we need the partnerships from the banks. So I think the shift in the mentality that we see will go more towards open finance, because that's where I believe that the banks will finally see that, this is actually something where we can make a profit, not just having a cost involved. And when you then create something that, as CD also mentioned, you need to always keep the consumer in mind and don't necessarily have the greedy aspect of it as a foundation, because I think that's also something we've seen from the financial industry, either being from the card schemes with the high interchange fees, or if you see it from the buy now, pay later, where you have extremely high interest rates. So we're not just talking 25-30%, we're talking hundreds of percent of interest rates because of the fees involved. And those are products that you don't want to see anymore, and you need to have that transparency. And hopefully open banking and open finance can facilitate for that, so that the product offerings that we see in the market will become so much better for the consumer. So I'm really hoping that that's what we're going to see over the next few years.
Yeah, I love the fact that it is really just consumer driven. just in every aspect of it. And Christoffer, if I could stick with you then, one thing that maybe could be said about a lot of large-scale institutions, large-scale banks, and why maybe adoption of open banking has been slow in some areas is because they've been saddled with legacy, or so they like to say. But Neonomics comes in, and I believe, from my research, you guys are pretty flexible. What was having that kind of flexible, non-legacy based infrastructure like for you to kind of start in this Internet 2.0, and you guys were ready to go? What does that mean for the people that you partner with, and also yourselves?
Essentially, it means that we're able to do it a lot faster. We're able to also facilitate a lot more. I mentioned that we originally had the vision of an app store for banking.
Yeah.
And that has kind of it's been a differentiator for us as well, because instead of doing aggregation, as many of our competitors do, we don't just aggregate. First of all, we unify on one end so that there's one interface that you connect to. But in addition, the whole platform has been designed to be an app store. So the different apps that you have on top of it can very easily be built together with partners, which is what we've done with Experian, and which is what we're doing with several partners now to kind of facilitate better flows for the customers. And hence the result is better customer experience. So I would say that having that non-legacy tech is an enormous benefit. And when we then connect to the legacy system, I cannot say that that's an easy job, because that's an extremely tough job. But once we get that agile layer on top of it, it caters for a fantastic opportunity, not just for the fintechs, not just for the merchants, but also for the banks. So that's where I hope that we will see this ecosystem work together in the future.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that ecosystem, Siri, obviously App Gallery is right at the heart of it. It's at the root of it, really, because you start your digital banking, mobile banking journey from App Gallery. And with that in mind, then, what do you see the future of open banking or embedded finance, if it does become that finally, and how can Huawei's App Gallery really be a part of it going into the future?
Well, I see this as the opportunity of actually offering consumers the choice, because it's all about choice. You and I are different. Christoffer has another way of doing his finances, and all these preferences need to be treated in a good way. And that is why we want to make sure that we have, whether there are small or large players in the market, we want everyone to join. And as Michael said, part of getting everyone to onboard, that will drive innovation. And we need innovation in this space. That is extremely important. So I think App Gallery wants to make sure that everyone finds their version of support that they need to do their finances, so that we have a financially healthy life. It is just as important as a physically healthy life for you to be happy, basically.
Definitely. It's one of the biggest contributors to mental stress and everything like that. And I guess Christoffer as well, love to hear your perspective. I know you were bringing up embedded finance earlier, but where do you see the future heading, and how can Neonomics be a part of that?
Well, embedded finance, open finance, I think that's definitely where we're heading. So we've always said that when we're looking at the payment side of things, it's so far open banking has essentially been a competitor to debit, and we are now a real competitor to debit, because we facilitate transactions in a far more flexible way. Then you go on to the data side, which is what we're doing with the account information, and when we extract that, we get what in the financial industry is a great foundation to provide credit. And then you go into the next space, which is essentially the credit space, where everything that you get from the transactions and that you get from the data side facilitates and help you in providing better offerings there. So And also, I think everything will become more seamless and integrated, not just on how you use your customer experience in one specific app, but also across the different apps, and how you are in control of your data and leverage that data and what we also refer to as open data in a way where you need to be able to control it. Because if we look at the past 10 years, the large players in the data field, Google, Facebook, they get all this data for free. And I think if we go into the future, that data is extremely valuable. And in the financial space, that data is not just valuable, it also provides you with a better insight into your financial life and are able to make the right decisions. So it's where you actually get something in return for that value. So I think we'll go more in that direction, as you said, embedded finance, open finance, same views on the different term, I guess. So exciting future, I'm sure.
Yeah, wow, absolutely brilliant. And just to wrap up, Mike, do you agree with the previous two comments? And I'd love to hear your perspective. I really appreciate Christoffer's talking of the fact that a lot of the tech companies just got the data for free, and really how you can utilize that. But yeah, is there any other insights you can provide?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what the guys have said. I personally believe open banking, open finance is the future. The exciting thing that I think is all of these businesses that have been able to come into fruition simply because of this new legislation. You think of the savings apps like Plum, for example. That they couldn't have existed without this infrastructure in place, because you've got to have that access to that information, which was previously tightly guarded by the big bank. So for me, it's exciting that the opportunities that it brings, not just for businesses, but obviously that's a great app. I use it myself. This is a great thing for customers to help with that financial health that we've talked about and we know is so important, even more so with the effects of COVID and whatnot happening. So yeah, I mean, I think the future is exciting. I totally agree with Christoffer. I hope things move a bit quicker because open finance is a great dream at the moment, but how long is it going to take until we really see that data access available for everyone to leverage? I think that's going to be the important next steps is making sure that we're able to continue on a steady trajectory rather than
an undulating one.
2022, Mike.
Amazing, guys. Well, thank you so much for all three of your insights. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love talking about this topic, especially this partnership is going a long way to help fueling that and making sure that we're going to meet those targets and that trajectory. So I just want to say a massive thank you, and also a big cheers to our audience as well. You can catch the rest of the series and much more over at ffnews.com, of course YouTube, but especially LinkedIn, of course, where you'll see me in the comments. So Michael, Christoffer and Siri, thank you once again. Have a lovely rest of your week and speak to you soon. Goodbye.